The G1 Climax 30 for New Japan Pro Wrestling is now becoming more interesting. We're going to review who is now having the most points, who could be most likely to advance, who more than likely can't. So all of that is coming up on Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Hey everyone, welcome to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things pro wrestling from AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, many promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I'm your host, J-Rod here. Before I start reviewing the both A block and B block of the G1 Climax for this year, as you know, I mentioned before earlier that we're now getting close to who is most likely to advance, who more likely than that. Now, remember, this is not a typical elimination type of tournament that normally happens here in the States. In Japan, it's all different. It's all point system. So I will throw out the point system at the end when I review both blocks, and we'll see how that goes. So, and also I will throw you guys some news update about yesterday involving Mustafa Ali. So right now, let's get started with the G1 Climax 30 A block. Okay, so right now we're getting into the ninth day of the G1 Climax 30 with the A block. So, as you know, we always start out with this tournament with the Young Lions, but I'm not going to throw on this one because it's pretty interesting. But as you guys don't know, I just found out that they're calling the whole Young Lions thing more of the unofficial C block, which has already started a year ago with David Finlay, but he's not in this tournament, but we'll see how that goes. But the first match of the A block that came out was Yujiro Takahashi versus Shingo Takagi. Now, keep in mind, Yujiro is the only one in this tournament and also in the A block that so far hasn't had any wins. So keep in mind he most likely will not be advancing. But as for Shingo, that's a different story. Now, this match was pretty interesting, but not the best in my opinion. I mean, I know how Shingo Takagi is one of the most hard-hitting hitters in in the business. I mean, he is one of the strongest competitors. But the match did seem that Yujiro was determined to win this one. But however, there is no match for a guy like Shingo when he applied the Last Dragon finisher on Yujiro, allowing him to pick up 2 more points while Yujiro remained at 0. So Shingo won this one. And now let's move on to next. The next one is Jeff Cobb versus JY. Now this isn't the first time these two have come across each other. Now, Jay White has spoken out many times over that this will be his year to win the tournament in order to go to the Wrestle Kingdom, which is one of their biggest events in history. And pretty much you got to be careful with Ghetto, who's always at Jay White's side. But Jeff Cobb has faced him before in the tournament in the previous G1, but this time it's becoming more and more apparent that Jeff Cobb is determined to avenge that loss that he had with Jay White a year ago. But however, he had eyes behind in the back of his head with Ghetto, so he basically saw Ghetto coming. It didn't work, so basically, Jeff Cobb won this match by applying the Samoan all around the island of Samoa move, and it was great. So he gets 2 points while Jay White gets 0. Next match, we have Minoru Suzuki versus Kazuchika Okada. Now, these two guys are not familiarized with each other. Now, about a year ago, they have faced each other for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship that once was in Okada's possession. And he maintained it at the Royal Quest in England. Minoru Suzuki was not so lucky to obtain that top. But however, this is one of those matches where you know for a fact what Minoru Suzuki is advanced. Now, this has been foretold, and from what I understand, from both Rocky Romero and Kevin Kelly. According to both commentators, if Okada did not win this match, he doesn't get it to advance. So it appears that this is one of those moments where now we're seeing who could be advancing more in the tournament, and it looks like Okada and Minoru Suzuki most likely. But like I said, Okada could, if he lost this match, he would have not advanced. But however, the only person that stood in his way is Minoru Suzuki. As you all know, Minoru Suzuki is a fantastic striker and a submission specialist. So he had to be more careful because he knew what Minoru Suzuki is in fact capable of. But there is one thing that Okada had to do, is to apply his the money clip on Minoru Suzuki. I don't think he's ever been in that submission move, but it was great to see this match. I say this is a far more better match that they did than last year, because it determined that Okada is trying to advance further. My friend, who I known since college, told me that he votes for Okada to win the A block. So we'll see how that goes. So next match we have Taichi versus Tomohiro Ishii. Now this is a very unique match. From what I understand, Rocky Romero made some interesting comments. These guys were not part of the original New Japan Dojo. They were part of the All Japan Dojo. They're both fantastic wrestlers. That's where they were originally from. But this showed how Taichi is determined to fulfill his destiny, to advance. He's always claiming that he deserves more, that he needs to be the talk of the hour. But Tomohiro Ishii is the guy who is a very powerful individual. You cannot stop a guy like him who, you know, you're going to hit him hard, but he expects you to hit him as hard as possible, but he won't budge. But this proved how Taichi was determined to win, but it did not. However, it was Ishii who picked up the victory. So this will make Taichi's second consecutive loss that he had so far. So right now, this is basically his fifth match of the G1. So we're gonna see later on. I will find out who could most likely be advancing, as Tomohiro Ishii gained two points on this one. Now the main event for the A block was none other than a sort of rematch between these two individuals. This is between Will Ospreay, the Assassin of Chaos, versus the Golden Star, Kota Ibushi. Now these two has faced off before years ago. Back in Wrestle Kingdom 13, they were facing off for the Never Openweight Championship, where at the time Kota Ibushi already had his had that title, but he lost it. This is where he actually ended up on the sidelines for a short time after losing to Will Ospreay. So this time it became more important, more apparent. I have to say they picked the right main event for this one, because these are two of the most popular competitors and stronger competitors you ever get to see. But however, these two are more determined to win. But they knew exactly what move was coming. They knew exactly. Kota Ibushi knew exactly what Will was going to do. Will also did the same thing with Kota. But however, there always has to be a winner, and the winner for this one was, to my surprise, was in fact Kota Ibushi. So he most likely, I do believe right now, he could most likely be the one to advance further to win the A block. Now, no disrespect to Okada, I feel like he could be one of those guys, but I can picture both Okada and Ibushi being in the finals. I'll explain that when we get to the point system. So I think that's it right now with the A block, so let's move forward with the B block. Alright, so we're entering now with the G1 Climax 30 B block. So this is one of those tournaments we are now getting more and more interesting. Like I said, we're now getting to the point where we're seeing who can most likely keep advancing more with the most amount of points in this tournament. Now the first I always talk about, they always start out with this match with the Young Lions, or should I say the unofficial C block. But this match, it was very interesting. We had Yuya Uemura versus Yota Tsuji. I'm not gonna. This one was one of those hard-hitting matches always. However, this one ended up in the draw, so that means it's there. No one wins. It's just a tie. And you ask yourselves, those who say, wait, how is that possible? How can you end a match in a tie? There has to be a winner. Well, like I said, wrestling in Japan is a lot more different than here, unless you play by the rules. WWE doesn't have that, but other promotions can follow it if they follow the system. You know, like NWA had their own way. Same thing with AEW. So that's pretty much it. But that's how it goes. Now, the first match for the B block, we had Toru Yano and Hiroki Goto. Now, this is one of those matches I was like, okay, how is Yano going to escape from this one? Now, even though Goto and Yano are part of the same stable faction, Chaos, I don't know exactly what Yano was thinking. What happened is he gave him Goto one of his shirts. However, he got distracted when Goto tossed that shirt passed right through him, when he did not see that Goto was making a break for the pinfall, but in pinfall and winning the match like that. I'm like, wow, I can't believe Goto outsmarted him. But I think the years that Goto has teamed up with Yano must have picked up his tricks. You got to remember, Yano is a trickster. He always finds a way to win the match, even if he has to give a low blow to his opponent. Now, you're saying, is he a heel? I'm like, no. He's a face, but he sometimes uses tactics that help him win. Like if he was a bad guy. I mean, he was a bad guy in the early days when he was part of a faction called the Great Bash Heel. So that's pretty much it. But so Yano loses this match, but Goto wins 2 points on this one. Next match, we had Sonata versus Zack Sabre Jr. Now, these two are very familiarized with each other. They had come across paths before, and practically this is one of those matches you know for a fact that you may never know who's going to win. There have been occasions where we've seen Zack Sabre Jr. win the match or Sonata, but this is one of those matches where you knew for a fact that Sonata was determined. As you know, on day 8, he surprised all of us when he defeated his boss from the Los Ingorbenables de Japón, or as we call him, LIJ, Tetsuya Naito. But this match proves Sonata earned the right to be there. And the way he won it was so amazingly. I have to say, I give him credit where it's due. He picked up 2 points on this one. As for Zack Sabre Jr., 0. So I will explain more of this on the point system. So stay tuned for that. Next match, we have Evil, along with the master spoiler, Dick Togo versus Juice Robinson. Now, as you know, well, I wasn't sold on this one much. I'll just skip ahead. Evil won, as always, so I wasn't so much sold on this match, even though I was told that the B block was better than the last 4 years, which I have to agree, true, but I don't think I was sold on this match that very much. Forgive me, but that's how I feel. Now, the next match is Yoshihashi versus Tetsuya Naito. Now, I've always talked about Yoshihashi, how he was the ultimate underdog in the entire story. He is now a champion himself, and he picked up an amazing victory before, but this is one of those matches where he stepped up his game to face the champion himself, Tetsuya Naito. I was so impressed what he was able to do. He was determined to beat Naito, but however, Naito has been determined to remain undefeated, but ever since the last time he lost against Sonata, it was great. I was like impressed. This is one of the best matches I've seen Yoshihashi has ever been in, much like I'm a fan of Tetsuya Naito, but unfortunately, Naito won by applying his finisher, Destino, which means destiny in Spanish, so he actually picked up the victory. Now, the main event for the A block was none other than seeing Kenta versus Hiroshi Tanahashi. Now, as you know, Kenta is one of the most deadliest fighters in the wrestling business. Tanahashi is familiarized with him, and not to mention he hasn't forgotten that he betrayed Shibata. But this is one of those matches where Kenta is determined to win no matter what. Even though he has the briefcase for the contract to face for the IWGP United States Championship, but however, he doesn't mind trying to obtain it. So this is one of those matches where it's like, dang. But you know for a fact that there is Sonata can find ways to put you in a submission. But there was a moment where the referee was knocked down, but Kenta, in the other hand, somehow was able to pick up his briefcase and whack Tanahashi to oblivion, but it wasn't enough to pick up the pin. But however, Tanahashi was determined to win. He has won the tournament before 2 years ago, and he could be one of those guys that we could see win it, but I'm not sure. We'll just have to wait and see how far we're going. And of course, he picked up the victory by putting Kenta in his finisher maneuver, and it's great. So he advances, and Kenta doesn't. But we'll see how that goes. Well, now we just finished with the B block. Let's talk about the point system right now. Alright, so we're entering now into the point system with the G1. Now, I have mentioned, we're getting to the point where now we're seeing wrestlers in New Japan who are advancing further. Who could be most likely? So right now, let's talk about who has most points and how many consecutive wins and losses they have. Let's start with the A block. Kota Ibushi. He has 4 wins, 1 loss, with the total points of 8. Jeff Cobb, 2 wins, 3 losses with the total points of 4. Kazuchika Okada. He has 3 wins, 2 losses with the total points of 6. Tomohiro Ishii. 2 wins, 3 losses with the total points of 4. Will Ospreay. 3 wins, 2 losses, total points 6. Shingo Takagi. 2 wins, 3 losses, total points 4. Minoru Suzuki, 3 wins, 2 losses with the total points of 6. Jay White, 3 wins, 2 losses, total points of 6. And Yujiro Takahashi, he has no wins and has 5 losses. So basically, most likely from what I can tell in this, looks like Yujiro could be out as further we get along in the tournament. So keep that in mind. But the person who most likely has the most points in the A block is Kota Ibushi. So he looks like the one who is safe for now. All he has to do is keep on winning. But the most likely people that we got to keep an eye on, who has 6 points so far, we have Jeff Cobb, Kazuchika Okada, Will Ospreay, Minoru Suzuki, Taichi, and Jay White. Now, these are the individuals that most likely they have to somehow advance as much as possible. Now, as for ones with the lower, a bit more up to the 4 points, like, for example, we have Tomohiro Ishii and Shingo Takagi. One of these two have to advance further. So basically, it's in the matter of time how far they can go. So my guess, they have to figure out either who will advance between these two, either Tomohiro Ishii or Shingo Takagi, since they're the ones that have 4 points, while the rest has 6, while Kota has only 8. So that's one of the point systems we have to keep an eye on, because it tells us a story. It tells us a story, okay, Kota Ibushi looks like he most likely could win the tournament for the A block. But however, who could catch up to face the finals to make it in the A block? Now, let's jump in with the B block. Hiroshi Tanahashi, he has 3 wins and 2 losses with the total points of 6. Juice Robinson, 3 wins, 2 losses, total points 6. Hiroki Goto, 2 wins, 3 losses, total points of 4. Toru Yano, 3 wins, 2 losses, total points 6. Yoshihashi, 1 win, 4 losses, 2 points. Tetsuya Naito, 4 wins, 1 loss, total points of 8. Sonata, 2 wins, 3 losses, total points of 4. Zack Sabre Jr., 2 wins, 3 losses. Kenta, 2 wins, 3 losses. They both have 4 points. And of course, we have Evil, 3 wins, 2 losses. Now, the person who most likely have the most points in the B block is Tetsuya Naito. He has 8 points. But however, Yoshihashi, I'm not sure if he's able to catch up. But in the way it tells me, most likely he could either win a match but not advance. So that's also one of those cases. But we do have um, Juice Robinson, Yano, who else? And Evil, most likely they have 6 points, while the rest, like Goto, Sonata, and Zack Sabre Jr. have 4 points. Now, this is going to be a little tricky in a way. So Tetsuya Naito seems like he's the most with the points. It won't affect them unless he picks up more victory. As for Yoshihashi, he only has 2 points. Most likely he could be the guy that will not be able to advance, but however, who could be the next person to advance in order to continue on. So we're going to continue more further with the G1. It's going to happen again. I will continue more with day 11th and 12th. Hope you guys enjoy this. Right now, let's jump in with the news updates at this point. All right, so we're getting into news updates right now. As you guys know, I did not watch WWE Raw, but I was flipping through channels, and all of a sudden, I saw exactly what I did not expect. It's now been buzzing all over social media, all over the wrestling world, with the biggest shocker. Mustafa Ali is now the leader of Retribution. Now, people can talk about this whole thing about Retribution. Like, a lot of fans were not sold onto this. It's the same kind of thing we saw with Dark Order. No one took him seriously until Brody Lee took over. Now, the situation is this. How can you make the Retribution stand out more with good credibility? If you put a guy like Mustafa Ali, who has a great credibility, we've seen him. He's been on NXT, he's been on 205, on the main roster a bunch of times over. But putting him as the leader is kind of interesting. Now, they did not go with the whole thing like they did with the Dark Order, where Evil Uno and Stu Grayson were getting their orders from someone who called himself the Exalted One. But however, we don't know exactly how they were planning this, if they were going this far along. But however, do you believe that Mustafa Ali as the leader of Retribution can help make credibility for Retribution? You guys tell me. Leave a comment down below. Now, next update we have, as you know, recently WWE has been mostly attacking talent about their third-party platforms such as Twitch and Cameo, where they're getting money on the side since they're not being paid well at this point. They want to take control now of their Twitch. However, appears that Paige is now wants to unionize the wrestlers because of that, and Selena Vega seems like she is on board. But the real question, could this be possible to happen? I know this is something that the last thing Vince wants, but it's now becoming more apparent that WWE is trying to control the wrestlers on what they do. Apparently, they stated out they own their names, even their real names. So that's pretty much going on. So what do you guys think? Could this union be the one thing that these wrestlers need to stop Vince from controlling the Twitch account? Well, we'll see how that goes. Now, last thing is, this is not related to WWE. This is from MLW. They just announced today that apparently they're bringing back the Opera Cup tournament. Last year's winner was Davey Boy Smith Jr., so he won it in the honor of his family. As you know, we haven't seen MLW do any events of recently, but however, they're having a brand new segment called The Restart. Basically, they're going to restart the whole tournament. However, we haven't heard anything else. There were reports coming in that both members of the Hart Foundation, Brian Pillman and Davey Boy Smith Jr., are planning to leave MLW. We do know that Brian Pillman Jr.'s contract with MLW expires early 2021. However, as for Davey Boy Smith Jr., I'm not sure. They've been totally not been doing anything so far since the start of the pandemic. We have been seeing frequently Brian Pillman Jr. appearing at AEW, and he also appeared in many other independent promotions. As for Davey Boy Smith, we're not sure. There's been rumors going around they want to bring back the Hart Dynasty. We'll just have to wait and see how that goes. I mean, I know that Davey Boy Smith Jr., he's a fan of AEW, but he does not like the colors. Don't ask me why. He said that in an interview. So I think that's pretty much it. So I hope you guys enjoy the episode. I hope you guys leave a comment down below, see what you like. And you guys get back to me about Ali. Could his part as leader of Retribution will help them? Yes or no? And if you say no, explain to me why. So we'll go from there. So that I must bid all of you adieu. So I must say goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang.